G'day, history buffs. Today, we're diving into the intertwined histories of Australia and New Zealand through the lens of war and national identity. Buckle up, because it's a wild ride. At the dawn of the 20th century, Australia and New Zealand were both buzzing with optimism. Australia officially became a nation in 1901, uniting its colonies into a federation. New Zealand, however, chose a different path, becoming a dominion within the British Empire by 1907. Despite class divides, one thing brought Australians together: their unique brand of Australian rules football. Weekends saw thousands flocking to footy grounds, cheering for their teams. Football players were idolised, embodying the ideal of the heroic bushman, popularised by writers like Henry Lawson and Banjo Paterson. But as the First World War loomed, both Australia and New Zealand were still carving out their identities separate from Britain. With their vast lands and small populations, fear of invasion led them to rely heavily on British military guidance. New Zealand was the first to send troops to the Boer War, with Australia following suit, pledging allegiance to the British Empire. Economically, New Zealand was tied to Britain through its sheep products, a trade that secured its prosperity. By 1911, most of Australia and New Zealand's populations were of British descent, reinforcing their strong ties to the mother country. But when World War I broke out, both nations were ready to fight for Britain. Australians and New Zealanders gathered in excitement, singing patriotic songs and volunteering in droves. They trained in Egypt, where they were first exposed to different cultures. However, this led to some disciplinary issues, painting an image of Australians as unruly. It wasn't until the Gallipoli landings in 1915 that this perception changed. The Australian Imperial Force AIF and New Zealand soldiers, known together as the ANZACs, landed on the rocky shores of Gallipoli. Despite a navigational error that placed them in a more defensible area for the Turks, the ANZACs displayed immense bravery. The campaign was a disaster, with nearly 9,000 Australian and 3,000 New Zealand soldiers losing their lives. Yet the heroism of these men became legendary. Gallipoli forged a national identity for both countries, portraying them as courageous and resilient. Those who survived Gallipoli were sent to fight on the Western Front, enduring the horrors of trench warfare. The ANZACs battled through cold winters, relentless shelling, and deadly mustard gas. By the end of World War I, Australia had lost 60,000 men, and New Zealand 18,000, with countless more wounded. The war left deep scars, but it also solidified a sense of national pride and identity for both nations. The ANZAC spirit, characterised by mateship, stoicism and humour, became central to how Australians and New Zealanders saw themselves. Thanks for joining me on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more historical adventures. See you next time. Certi